I can enjoy our first action of the day at Celtic against Kilmarnock with Pat Bonner and Liam McLeod.
It was meant to be party day for Celtic. It could still be party weekend for Celtic, depending on what happens here and at Pittodrie tomorrow. The fourth and final meeting between Celtic and Kilmarnock this campaign. Celtic have won the other three. The different levels of comfort. The first one was here on the opening weekend of the season when the hosts running out 4-0 winners, thanks to goals from Hatate, Scales, Kuhn and a late one from Ralston. In only Rugby Park meetings saw Celtic win 2-0. McGregor scoring just before the break. Kuhn added a second in the second half. And the most recent clash was here in the Scottish Cup fourth round in January. Callum McGregor scoring the opener. Bobby Wales equalised just on half-time, but Maida won it with 20 minutes to go. And of course Celtic have a semi-final in that tournament to look forward to next weekend when they face St Johnstone at Hampden, as Kelly look for a first win at Celtic Park since October 2012, when Sheridan and Kelly's goals sealed a first win here since 1955. That is their only win away from home to Celtic in the last 84 attempts. As they look to upset the odds today and try and put a bit of daylight between themselves and the sides below them in the league, currently just a point above Dundee in 11th. The spectre of relegation is there, tapping them on the shoulder. The Celtic players break away from there. Huddleston, Isalo in goal. Johnston, Carter, Vickers, Scales, Taylor, Engels, McGregor, Hatate, Forrest, Maida, Ida. For Kelly, O'Hara in goal. Mayo, Wright, Findlay and Daba. Watson, Donnelly, Lyons. Armstrong, Murray, Wales. As Kelly kick off in their change colours, the all-navy going from right to left, shooting towards the Jockstein west end of the stadium. Celtic in the green and white hoops towards the Lisbon line stand, as they do in the first half generally here. And it's with Carter Vickers at the edge of his own box as Kilmarnock give it away from the centre. And it's now with Liam Scales, who's back in the starting 11 for the first time in a couple of months after sustaining that cheekbone injury. So he strides up to halfway and plays it across the halfway line for Hatate. Low ball forward to Ida, trying to get it under control. The former Celt, Findlay with the challenge. And then Johnston took his eyes off it just momentarily, and Fraser Murray is on it, driving down this left-hand side. James Forrest tries to get back at him. Murray turns facing his own goal, goes back up the line to Ndaba, into Donnelly, then back to Stuart Findlay's another who's had injury problems this season. Long ball from him's headed into the halfway line area there for Hatate, who fires it forward, blocked by Joe Wright and picked up by Ndaba, is looking to try and get Wales in behind Carter Vickers here, who flicks it with the outside of his boot back to his goalkeeper, plays it short to Scales and then to Carter Vickers. I would imagine, Paddy Bonner, that the Celtic players would have had a rocket during the week from their manager after letting in their standard slip. Not just last week, they've lost 2 of the last 3 league games, for example.
I think he would have, I don't think he would have given them a rocket, but he would remind them very clearly what their responsibility was, and of course then get them on the pitch and get them training to a standard, to a sharpness. And of course he talked a lot about energy and desire, and those things are part of any professional player's makeup, but especially when you come to big clubs like Celtic and that, you've got to play with those energy, and you've got to train that way also, and I think that will be what he reminded about them all week.
Well, James Forrest on this near side, of course, with Ida coming back into the team. Maida goes back to the left, they're trying to find him in behind here, and he's not far away from getting onto it either. It's a fabulous ball in behind as well, just had a little bit too much on it for Maida to be able to claim before O'Hara put his gloves on it.
Yeah, it was a good run, and of course you can imagine also that was something that Brendan Rodgers would have been reminded them and training also, because there was a lack of penetration last week. I know the St Johnstone probably defended deep with a real deep block or edge of their box, but still you've got to make the runs, and then it's up to the players on the ball to find you.
Well, Armstrong controlled it there, but he's got no time when Maida's around. Maida doing some good defending that time back in his own half. Long ball for Celtic down the left. O'Hara comes to the edge of his box and knocks it out of play for a... In fact, it stayed in play over on the far side. Liam Scales is onto it. The goalkeeping situation in Kilmarnock's been really interesting this season. He's flip-flopped between O'Hara and Robbie McCrory this season. Derek McInnes, who stands hands on hips in his technical area down below us, he's not really been able to choose a number one for an extended period of time. It's O'Hara with the gloves today again.
Yeah, well, listen, he's a goalkeeper who's at Man United. You know, he's obviously seen the big time. It hasn't worked out for him there. He never got the opportunity, but he's come out to other clubs and he's found a position for himself here in Kilmarnock, and he's in competition with Robbie McGuire. But that's good one way, but you just got to try to get consistency with your goalkeeper and who actually plays and who backs the other up.
Forrest back into the centre circle for Scales. Short to his right for McGregor, forward to Ida, little back heels cut out by Ndaba. Donnelly couldn't get it under control, but his little touch takes it to Murray, who puts it out for a Celtic throw in on this near side. Of course, Celtic have the balls, plenty of them, at the side of the pitch, sitting in cones, so they can get play back underway almost immediately when it goes out, and it Scales who gets it from Carter Vickers and moves into the Kilmarnock half.
I don't know who came up with that, but it's actually a really good invention. I see it all around the grounds now, that the ball's sitting on the cone, so you know exactly where to go quickly and get a ball into play. It speeds the game up a little bit.
Clearance by Finlay into the midfield, where Bobby Wales has come back into to get onto it. Back out to the right-hand side for Mayo, who thumps it high into the Celtic half. Scales though finds McGregor. 0-0, we played 4.5. The early stages of the early kick-off.
Yeah, Kilmarnock obviously going their back four, and you know, almost five with Fraser Murray kind of almost trying to sit in and top of McGregor in midfield, and they're leaving obviously Bobby Wales up front on his own.
Yeah, Celtic are going to get their first corner, indeed the game's first corner, over on the left, won by Ida. As I see the Kilmarnock club captain Kyle Vassell sit down below us. He's of course out injured. Rory McKenzie beside him. We started in the win against Motherwell last week. Celtic take the short corner, and it's Engels to Taylor, and back to McGregor, out to the left, level with the Killie 18-yard line with Engels, now with Forrest. Forrest looking for space to shoot, he does. It's blocked by Ndaba on the 6-yard line, gets it clear. McGregor's header back into the Killie penalty area, headed away by Wright, forward by McGregor, and then Lyons with the header. Goodness, it's head tennis out there, and Maida almost got onto it, but O'Hara claims it, and it stays Celtic 0, Killie 0.
Yeah, they took the short corner, Celtic, and you know, they had all the players up in the box. The two centre halves were up, and Scales, you know, he's been probably the one also from set pieces that has got on the end of things. You know, Celtic struggle at times, both in defending and attacking set pieces, but Scales was fairly consistent, especially in the opponent's box, but they didn't deliver in this occasion, and they were kind of left redundant in the box.
Last week was just the 7th time that Brendan Rodgers has lost a league game since returning to the club. As I mentioned, there was the defeat to Rangers. The other side of the win over Hearts here, and McGregor plays it short, the edge of his own box for Scales. Poor ball by Scales. The groans from the Celtic fans, who 2 minutes in were already accusing Kieran O'Hara of time wasting.
Yeah, that was a disappointing pass from Liam Scales, but Greg Taylor just bombed on. He never give him a decent angle, maybe, and it's just a simple pass out to him if he gets the right angle. But he was almost trying to bend it around the opponent to get to Greg Taylor, and it went out of play.
Killie have completely wasted the possession. It was bowled back to Mayo, and he's simply put it out of play for another throw in, this time for the home team. As Taylor takes short to Hatate and rolls it back to Scales, left-hand side of his box, and he squares it to his goalkeeper. Sinisalo finds Carter Vickers, who's strolling out of defence up towards the halfway line, right of the centre circle. Side football forward to Engels. Donnelly all over him, but he's left it short to the touchline for Forrest. He rolls it back in field there to McGregor, who finds Taylor, who goes down, former Kilmarnock defender. Challenged by Armstrong. Referee's John Beaton this afternoon. He's happy enough with it though. Taylor has it, left-footed ball side, put it out to the right touchline. Here's Forrest, first time to attack, first chance to attack the right side of the box for the veteran winger now. He plays it back to McGregor, and now with Maida, and then to Taylor, looking for Hatate, well read by Donnelly, and then hoofed to safety by David Watson. Sinisalo comes way outside his box to get onto it ahead of Wales, and plays it short to Scales.
Yeah, good composure from the goalkeeper. He knew exactly what he was doing, good awareness. You know, and goalkeepers, and modern goalkeepers now need to be able to do all of those things when you come outside your box, because you play in that position so often.
Hatate from Scales now with Taylor. Hatate attacking the box, shoots and scores! Wow, what a goal! What a magnificent goal from Rio Hatate, 25 yards out, and he has launched that beyond O'Hara into the top right corner. It is outstanding from the Japan international in the Glasgow sunshine on what could be title-clinching weekend for the champions. It is Celtic 1, Kilmarnock 0. What a goal!
It's a brilliant goal, and the pace and power, and it's sort of bent and dipped around the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper had no chance whatsoever. A strike from probably about maybe 23, 24 yards out, cutting in from that sort of left-hand side onto his right foot, and it was a superb strike, and just the space opened up. I'm not sure if anybody could do much about it because it happened so quickly. Build up on the left-hand side. Taddy picks it up, drives into the space, and nothing in his mind but have that strike at goal, and what a strike it was.
It's outstanding from Hatate. It's his 9th goal of the season, and this is extremely ominous for Kilmarnock. This now, the early goal that Derek McInnes would have dreaded has just been dispatched by Rio Hatate, and Celtic have the lead. This weekend, to win it, need a effective 5-point swing. A win today and a defeat for Rangers in Aberdeen tomorrow. Celtic would win the league this weekend.
Yeah, I'm sure. Listen, they'll take the one in the league any which way, but it's not what the Celtic fans wanted. They wanted to be celebrating here today, that's for sure.
Well, that was a goal fit to win a title. Here's Engels at the edge of the box. They look for more. He's looking to slip it through to Johnston. He gets there, and Maida will tap home at the back post with the simplest of finishes. Brilliant from Engels and Johnston, and it bounced fortuitously to Maida at the back stick, and he bundles it over the line. And Celtic have 2 goals in just over a minute. Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 0, and we've just kicked on to the 10-minute mark.
A Japanese 1-2, you've got to say it. He'll never score an easier goal in his life, Maeda at the back post. But it was really good play in this right-hand side between Johnson and just waiting for that run. And when he made the run, he got to the ball first and played a cross almost within 2 yards of the goal line. And I think it was Mayo at the back post. It sort of he nearly cleared it, went through his legs, deflected into the path of Maeda, and it just almost stopped the line from just a tap home. He could have done anything with it.
I mean, 11 in, it's effectively game over.
It is to a point, and that's the start, I'm sure, Brendan Rodgers. The reaction that Brendan Rodgers wanted from his team. They've dominated possession in this game so far. Now they've scored 2 goals, from two opportunities, but they're moving the ball really, really well. The players have come in, has made an effect on the game. Taylor's obviously playing that vertical role, but Adamida too, playing that centre forward role, coming off, pulling defenders out of position and allowing other players to run beyond them, and that's how Celtic play, getting in behind, and that was Johnson getting in behind on that occasion. Here they go again. Yeah,
Forrest found Ida, tucks it into the box. Johnston across, blocked there by Murray. Celtic win it back through Maida. I mean, the amount of pickpocketry Dyson Maida has done across the season when he's not in possession is incredible. Engels firing it across now, and both Ida and Maida were very close to getting a touch that would surely have taken it into the net for number 3. And these are desperate times for Derek McInnes. He's standing down there with his arms folded. It is the worst possible start for a Kilmarnock, a club that has not scored more than once at Celtic Park since they won here in 2012, and that's the only time it's happened since 2006.
Well, they haven't been able to get any control in the game or any control of the ball. No possession whatsoever for them to progress up the pitch, and then of course you're relying on defensive qualities.
Given away again, this time Murray at the edge of his own box. Here's Forrest, he's on the left foot, chops back onto the right, chips for goal and over the bar. He's always so much more comfortable on his right side, James Forrest, and there was a period where he'd actually improved his shooting with the left foot, but he's one of these players who would much rather hit it with the outside of the right than hit it with the left instep, and that's another example of it there.
Yeah, and
this time he's gone for the chip.
Yeah, you're right, Liam. He can be effective with the outside of his foot also. We've seen him do it, and do it very, very well. But he's getting plenty of the ball early on here, and he's linking up really well with Johnson. And I'd be so happy to get over that injuries that he has and get back into the team.
Yeah, and just in time for when the winners' medals are being handed out as McGregor dances away from Brad Lyons. He tried to shift it through to Maida, cut out, and here they come again on the left-hand side with Taylor. Looks up at the Killie box, gets his cross in, he's aiming it towards Forrest, one of the smaller players on the pitch, flicked away by Murray, and out for a throw into Celtic, level with the Kilmarnock 18-yard line on this main stand side. Johnston short to Forrest, does use the outside of the boot there to find Engels, who's returned to him's cut out, breaks Johnston's way, goes back to Callum McGregor, he'll move it to his left for Scales, he comes to shoot, can't resist, he does, and it's beaten away by O'Hara. Breaks back to Scales over on the left, he's going to let it run out for the throw. Good hit.
Great hit for the centre half, popping up on that left-hand side, and the space opened up for him, and he drove forward, and again, nothing on his mind but hit the strike. It was almost straight down the throat of the goalkeeper, who got two hands to it and batted away. But Celtic dominating the game so far, and Derek McInnes, you know, you come with a plan to Celtic Park. You come with a plan where you hang in for a while, you hope to get through the first period, no goals against, and then you can actually maybe develop your team into the game. But that now has been sort of knocked in the head completely, be 2-0 down after such a short period of the game, first 15 minutes.
Scales for Hatate, midway inside Killie territory, back to McGregor. Low ball forward to Forrest, right of centre, it goes to Johnston, a low across, cut out by Ndaba. Back to Johnston, hangs it back in, couldn't find Maida. Armstrong onto it over on the far side. Maida chases, but it kind of bounces off his shin and out for a Killie throw-in. Deep inside their own half over on that far side. Now one thing Kilmarnock have to take into account here, it's still early in the game, they're 2-0 down, 15 and a half only on the clock, is that their goal difference is currently now minus 18. The teams below them, Ross County, who are on the same points, Dundee are a point behind, and the same goal difference now, minus 17. That goal difference could potentially take a pounding here this afternoon, the way this is shaping up.
Yeah, and that's a real worry. But, you know, I look at the Kilmarnock squad. You know, if you look at the bench, they've got so much experience running throughout the team and the bench. They really shouldn't be in this position. For me, struggling to sort of, and I know Derek, his interview was really good, I think, before the game today, where he talks, when you're in that bottom six, you're almost fighting with everybody else, just because there's no middle ground for any team. You're either in the top six or you're in the bottom six, and if you're in the bottom six, you have got to perform week after week and try and get points, and every point's valuable.
And the thing is, this is how important that sixth place is in the Premiership. That final top six position has been described as a golden ticket, and you can see why, because even if it's too far back to challenge for Europe, you automatically avoid financially, but you avoid the 11th place. Absolutely. The battle to avoid that.
And takes so much pressure off everybody around the club, and you can plan then for the following year very, very quickly. That's the other thing.
Here's Forrest for Celtic on this near side. 2-0 up they are, as they pin Kilmarnock back against the ropes again here, and it's Engels in field to McGregor, back to Carter Vickers, forward to Taylor, and then Carter Vickers again to Scales as they try and pick their way through. Blue skies above here, the sun continuing to shine down on Glasgow's East End. And it's Callum McGregor for Celtic to Engels, and then back to Carter Vickers. And I guess, talking about goal difference, even a draw tomorrow with Pittodrie, the league would effectively be done, given the huge advantage Celtic have in that regard at the top, as Kilmarnock get a free kick at the edge of their own box. Over on the far side, Celtic plus 73, Rangers plus 33.
Yeah, big difference. Listen,
that's enormous.
Yeah, and while they were disappointed not being in a position today to win the league themselves, they'll take it anyway. But it's you have to look over the season. They have been the most consistent team. They've You know, they played really, really well. There'll be the odd day that they'll be off form, there's no doubt, and most teams do. You hope to get through it if you're off form and get a result, but in general terms, they've performed exceptionally well this year.
Well, I guess they're the only team that can go out and spend 11 and £9 million on 2 players. And that's dinked forward, and Sinisalo will accept the goal kick. I mean, that does make a massive difference.
It does make a difference, absolutely. But you have to have a philosophy, and you have to have then a way of playing to pick the right players. And you know, normally when you come to a club, you've got to find a way that suits the players. But when you're at a club for a while and you know how they want to play, that's about then shaping the team and bringing the right players to the club, and that's what Brendan Rodgers, I think, has done really, really well. You know, Ingles fits into the team perfectly. Luke McGowan fits into the team perfectly. You know, he's brought in Sloop, who he knows fits into the team. Jota, you know, has come back, fits into the team. So all of those players.
Forgotten man Bernardo as well.
Bernardo,
another big signing. Yeah,
they all fit in very, very well into the way that Brendan wants to play the game.
Scales for Celtic, they're attacking the final third again here, rolled out by Taylor to Maida, back to Scales, and then out to Maida again over on the far side. We're in the 20th minute, Celtic 2, Kilmarnock 0. Carter Vickers in the centre circle finds Johnston, low ball out to Forrest on this near side. Swivels away from Ndaba, moving in field and then squaring it to the captain. McGregor looking for Maida. He's off target with the pass this time, though. Mayo's struggling to deal with Maida. Even when Maida's out of possession, he's just an absolute buzz bomb.
He is. The one player actually that has performed well against him consistently over the term that he's been here has been Mayo, because he's got that pace and he sticks to his task really well. You know, but it's such a hard player to almost pin down. You never know where he is, because he's always on the move also, and he's making those penetrating runs, Maeda. You've got to be aware all the time.
There's Carter Vickers scored for goal! That's incredible! Carter Vickers nonchalantly strolling forward has just fired it from the right of centre area, 25 yards out into the top left. It is absolutely incredible for just a second goal of the season, and Celtic are turning on the style here as they close in on the crown. It is Celtic 3, Kilmarnock 0.
Well, what a strike, a narrow from probably about 30 yards out, 25, 30 yards in around that ballpark. The goalkeeper didn't have a hope and arrowed straight in to the top right-hand corner from an angle. Power and pace and accuracy. Brilliant goal from Carter Vickers. Probably, if you're looking at it at Kilmarnock, maybe somebody should have come out just to close him down, because the space was too much. It almost made up his mind for him that he can drive forward and has a strike, an easy strike at goal. But the accuracy and the power that he got into the strike was brilliant. Really good.
In Kilmarnock's defence, I don't think anyone inside the stadium was expecting Cameron Carter-Vickers to unleash that kind of effort at the Killie goal. And Ida could be in this time, and O'Hara comes and gets there just the right-hand side of the box. Good claim by O'Hara, but it is 3-0, and Stephen McGinn watching this former Kilmarnock midfielder not a quarter in, and Killie 3-0 down on the receiving end of a bit of a doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke at the top of the show about usually go 4-4-2 and trying to be a bit more pragmatic. This is worst case scenario for Derek McInnes. It's absolutely damage limitation now. Celtic are in the groove. They have to try and get a handle on this.
Stanley Armstrong on the right hand side, his ball across the 18-yard line, cut out by the chest of McGregor, and now it's with Hatate. The Hatate and Carter Vickers goals are outstanding finishes.
Outstanding strikes from outside the box. You don't see it that often. You know, Celtic like to work the ball and get balls across the box, and you know, from the 6-yard box and get movement. Normally those strikes from outside the box, maybe McGregor has knocked that one on the head at times, because he's been a prolific striker of the ball from the edge, but you don't see centre half stepping into those positions and having. The Scales also had an unbelievable strike early on, and just going back to what Stephen was talking about, you know, they're set up in that way. It's almost like a 4-4-2 with Fraser Murray almost backing up Bobby Wales, sorry, and the two of them, and it left that as almost a 2v3 in the middle of the pitch at times, and Celtic have exploited that space brilliantly.
A very long afternoon for the Ayrshirmen by the looks of things. It's a bouncing ball in the centre circle, which Carter Vickers goes back to his keeper with. And of course Celtic, as they close in on the title, they've got that semi-final against St Johnstone a week tomorrow, which then becomes their most important game of the season. And they're looking to some revenge after last week's defeat in Perth. Here's Maida, level with the Kilmarnock 18-yard line on the left, finds Taylor, back to McGregor. Infield for Hatate. 23.5 played. Hatate squaring it to Carter Vickers.
It's 23 played, and I can't remember Kilmarnock really being up the pitch and creating anything in this game. It's almost continually having to defend.
It's out to Engels on this near side. And then Forrest gets it from Johnston. He's worked it back to Johnston, pulls it back. Hatate, plenty time to take a touch and score! Rio Hatate grabs his second of the afternoon, and he had so much time in the Kilmarnock box to take a couple of touches and side foot it into the bottom left corner. And Celtic are turning on the style here this afternoon, because the scoreline barely into the second quarter reads Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 0.
Well, what a brilliant goal again. Brilliant combination play between Johnson and Forrest, kind of almost down the inside right channel, and Johnson getting to that sort of byline and cutting it back, taking 2 or 3 players out of the game, and for Hatate, and then showing unbelievable composure, controls, steps aside his opponent, and just almost passes it into the net past the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper again, no chance. There's a goalkeeper now, young man, he's lost 4 goals and he hasn't had a chance with any of those goals whatsoever. I don't think he's had any other saves, has he? Oh, sorry, the one from Scales on top of that.
Yeah, one he beat away, yeah. Well, Celtic 4-0 up, and their possession is on 88.2%. And I get the sense, after last week, they're not going to stop today.
No, they're not.
There's some of the matches this season, when they've had it sewn up by the break, the second half's been like a training exercise. I'm not getting that impression today. No. It could be that that's what happens.
Absolutely, and then of course he can go to the bench and put a challenge to those guys sitting on the bench that've been left out today. Now this is the standard we need, this is the standard you're expected to do, and they'll probably come off the bench and react to that too. So it's going to be a tough afternoon for Kilmarnock, I've got to say. What is that, 25 minutes gone, 4-0 down. I can't remember a match that it was the case. And I watched Kilmarnock here. Sorry, Liam, for going on a little bit, but I watched. There's a little chat. Sorry, I'll let him come back to it.
Maida's got a cross ball in, which Joe Wright gets a flick header onto, and it's towards his own 18-yard line. Murray gets it half away. Scales to Forrest, to McGregor, to Taylor, to Carter Vickers, to Johnston on this right-hand side. Right foot whips the ball in towards the back post, towards Maida. Headed away by Mayo, and then Lyons hits it out for a throw in over there for Celtic on the far side. I mean, this is verging on cruelty.
Yeah, it is.
Kilmarnock cannot get a touch of the ball.
They can't, and they're pinned back on the edge of their 18 yards. They're full team. The 2 strikers now are, well, Bobby was just dropped off. I don't know whether that's coming from the bench or I seen Ndaba out after the 4th goal telling them something. So now they've just dropped off to try to keep it a little bit more compact, because they were getting absolutely done in midfield.
There's Scales on the left-hand side of the box, winning it back, looking for Hatate on the overlap. Hatate looking to win at least a corner off Lyons, but Lyons reacts well and batters it clear. I mean, Kilmarnock would have to check the calendar to see what day it is. Their heads are swimming.
Yeah, and it's tough. And you know, Derry McInnes has gone sitting on the bench now. He's probably having a chat with his other staff to see what can he do here. Will he make changes? Will he take some players off? Will he change the shape? Will he you know, it's very difficult to get those messages across to people on the bench too. You've set up a plan, as I said earlier, and suddenly 4-0 down. How do you change it? Do you wait to half time?
I think back to when Aberdeen lost 9 here and the first one, I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it was after 20 minutes that the first Celtic goal went in that afternoon. As Forrest finds Johnston, he dinks it up the line there for Ida. Finlay covers across, and it's better defending. Stuart Finlay, as he wins it off Ida and drives up to the halfway line, but he's got nowhere to go, albeit he's been tripped by Johnston. Free kick Kilmarnock, and they are getting a bit of a respite here. 28 on the clock. Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 0.
Yeah, and what do you do now? Do you take it short, or do you get the centre halves to go up and try to play it forward? It's obviously the free kick is right on the halfway line. Such a long distance. I think they'll take it short and try and progress a little bit up the pitch. But they have thrown a couple of the centre halves up. Joe Wright's gone up there, and they'll play it in, hoping to get just something in the attacking way.
Donnelly takes it long out to the right-hand side. He's managed to pick out Armstrong, who's level with the Celtic 6-yard line. Drops the shoulder, he's got the cross in. He's found the goal, wow! Danny Armstrong, I mean, it is 100% across, but it's found its way into the top left corner of the net past Sinisalo, and Kilmarnock get a goal back just before the half hour. Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 1.
I'll tell you what, you know, it was a cross, and he wasn't trying to score from that position. But as a goalkeeper, and I've been there before, you've almost come off your line a little bit, hoping that you make up a bit of ground to come and take the cross. You're almost caught, but it was actually hit with pace. I don't think the goalkeeper would have been a hell of a save if he had to save it. I don't think he had much of a chance, and that's me just standing up for the goalkeepers because I've been there before myself. But it was hit with pace, and it almost goes in right up in the top corner. And I don't think he might have been able to get it in any circumstance.
Listen, I was talking about goal difference earlier on. You do not know how important that Danny Armstrong strike might be from the shake-up in a few weeks' time. 4-1 then to Celtic. Danny Armstrong scoring incredibly his first goal of the season.
Wow.
As McGregor picks up midway inside the Kelly half.
That is a stat.
And then Carter Vickers gets it to the right, then back to McGregor, who threads it through towards Ida, trying to hold off the defender. But there is the challenge from Lyons, and he seems to have managed to win the free kick there under pressure. So again, it just takes the pressure off the Kilmarnock defence.
Yeah,
sorry, you're about to say something.
No, I was going to say that's a hell of a stat. You come up there with Daniel Armstrong. It's amazing, you know, coming to the end of the season, and that's his first goal, which is, you know, and he was a real creative player, and he scored a lot of goals last year.
It's his first goal in over a year.
Wow.
His last one came in a 5-2 win over St Mirren last March. Here goes Maida down the left, driving into the Kilmarnock box, to the byline, winning the corner. Good play by Maida, as ever, positive.
Yeah, it was good play by him again. And you know, listen, I compared that save to Dyson Maida, who's what is he up on 30 at the moment?
31 now.
31
after the strike
now.
Today. He's 3 behind Kyogo's best tally in a season here.
And he's played in that wide position, you know, the same as Daniel Armstrong, most of the season. I know he's played through the middle on occasions too, but some comparison there between the goals scored.
30 between them, but there's a heck of a lot of points between them. Heck of a lot of budget between them as well. As Engels takes the corner, whips it in, it's headed away by both Lyons and then Murray. As McGregor goes after it, and it goes out to play off McGregor last for a Kilmarnock throw-in on the near side. And you kind of get the sense Derek McInnes would sign up for a 4-1 defeat right now.
Yeah, and but that goal has given them a little bit more heart. You can see it in them. That has given them a little bit of confidence to maybe get on the ball a little bit more and try and see if they can control the game a bit, because they haven't been any way, shape, or any. Obviously, trying to get the ball and trying to get control and pass it around. They've given the ball away and they've been nicked off them by Celtic, and Celtic just dominated possession for this start of this game, for this almost first half hour.
Taylor to Scales, left of the centre circle in the Kelly half, finds Carter Vickers to the right of it, and then to Johnston out to the touchline for Forrest. No ball in field to Johnston as Celtic attack the goal to the right here. Is rolled back to Carter Vickers, who squares it to Scales. Finds McGregor. Sees what's ahead of him, and what's ahead of him are all of Kilmarnock's players behind the ball. Scales then with a poor ball, straight to touch on the far side, looking for Maida. Stephen McGinn watching this in the studio. Did Danny Armstrong mean that? Stephen?
Sorry, I was waiting to get faded up there. Yeah, no, he definitely didn't mean that. He was just first time probably for Kilmarnock have been into Celtic's final third, and he's just trying to help it into the back area, but Engels lets him on his left foot. He's got the quality to almost put in that really dangerous cross-come shot, so absolutely kind of a bit of relief for Kilmarnock to get back into the game.
Stephen, I was saying the goalkeeper didn't have a... What's your opinion on that? Would you be blaming the goalkeeper there?
Packy, I'm a bit, you're a bit bigger than me. I said in the studio I think the goalie could do better, but maybe not to you.
He's miles bigger than me, doesn't stop me pulling him up. Here's a chance for Celtic again. Ida down the left, and sliding in is Findlay, and it bounces off Ida last, says John Beaton, and that will be a goal kick to Kilmarnock. What a relief Stephen was there, Packy. I was getting worried about him for a moment. Anyway,
They take it so easy in that sort of studio, coffees and cakes and
cigars
everything.
out. Yeah.
Cigars out.
It will be a goal kick then for a beleaguered Kelly, who have at least stemmed the flow. 11 minutes until half-time. Celtic's fourth goal arrived on the 25-minute mark, so the damage hasn't got any worse since then. And it was looking like it may well do. Armstrong has brought them back to within 3. Here is Scales. Celtic still can barely see Kilmarnock in the rear view mirror right now. And as Taylor finds Scales, and now Carter Vickers to the right of the centre circle again. As ever, Johnston is an option to his right when he plays it back to Scales. Short ball for Hatate. He spins away from David Watson, who's not really been able to get into the game, in fairness. And with Johnston to Hatate on the near side. Johnston again. Leaves it for Forrest. Side foots it to Johnston. It's a little chip ball, it's clever. Engels with his back to goal. Bounces off a Kilmarnock defender, then hoofed away by Findlay. Up into the air where Wales gets a touch onto it, gets it back to Watson. Turns away from his man, then Armstrong just got it back to Mayo, who gets it to Donnelly, and then out to Armstrong on the far side. Under pressure from Maida. Field for Donnelly. Into Armstrong again. The challenge comes in from Adam Ida. The referee blows the whistle, and that will be a Kilmarnock free kick on the far side. Almost on 36 minutes. Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 1. To come later on today, match of the day without question at Fir Park. Motherwell taking on Hearts. With coverage of that on Open All Mic. St Mirren, Ross County, Saints still in the mix as well for that final top 6 place. Dundee United host St Johnstone in another crucial game when it comes to United's battle for Europe and the challenge for third. And St Johnstone's battle against the drop, which received that massive shot in the arm last weekend. Tomorrow, midday, noon shootout between Aberdeen and Rangers at Pittodrie, then at 2:30 Hibs Dundee. Kilmarnock have a free kick long into the Celtic box, which bounces off the head of Hatate back to Sinisalo.
Yeah, good awareness from Greg Taylor, I think it was. Just initially I thought maybe the goalkeeper might have shouted on Carter Vickers to let it go because it was going through to him, but he did take the chance to head it and head it up in the air. But Greg Taylor was aware then of where that there was no Kilmarnock players following in, and he just heads it back to the goalkeeper. Very simple.
Carter Vickers out to Forrest and infield to Johnston, who finds Callum McGregor short to Taylor. In the Kelly half, just outside the centre circle, he finds Carter Vickers, and now Scales out to Maida on the far side. 8 minutes from half time. 4-1 to Celtics. McGregor square to Johnston, and out to Forrest level with the Kilmarnock 18-yard line. Taking on Murray, rolling it short back to McGregor, square to Taylor, and then back to Callum McGregor, who finds Engels on this near side. Short ball to McGregor, infield to Taylor, back to Carter Vickers, and now with Scales. Scales looks to feed it through to Ida, who's desperate to get in the goal act, knocked away from him though. Hatate picks up the scraps, finds McGregor. Johnston exchanging passes with Taylor. And out to Forrest on this near side. Forrest to Engels, back to James Forrest. First time he started a game since the 5-0 rout of Ross County here at the end of November. And Celtic were 5 up at the break. Was heading that way at one point, might still do. Only standing at 4-1. Here's Johnston. And McGregor to Scales. Out to the left angle of the box for Maida, taking on Mayo, level with the penalty spot to Hatate, back to Maida, tries to pull it back for Ida, it's blocked and behind for another Celtic corner.
Yeah, Celtic been very, very patient around the edge of the box, just keeping the ball for fun. Kilmarnock, all of their players can almost back about 25 yards from goal, just trying to kill the spaces, but Celtic just moving that ball off the first, second touch, and then that little run, give and go from Maeda to get in behind to win the corner.
Which will be taken by Engels over on the Celtic left, and then swinger with the right foot, headed away powerfully there by Liam Donnelly. Celtic's possession is just under 89. They've not really let that drop. Derek McInnes said their average of the season is 75. Well, they are around 14% better than that right now, as Carter Vickers collects and squares to Scales. Left-footed ball to Maida, then back to Scales, and in field to McGregor.
Yeah, I was going to say about Kilmarnock, when they played them in the Scottish Cup, they really pressed Celtic.
That was a good performance by Kelly that evening. Yeah,
they went almost man for man at the back, and it worked an absolute treat for them. I know they got beaten in the game, but it wasn't a 4-0 after 25 minutes, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, they won it 2-1, didn't they? They were made to work for it.
Yeah.
Maida scored with 20 to play.
But this is a complete opposite, isn't it? They've been forced back and they've given up the space. Celtic have just dominated possession and scored goals, but they've all been pinned back to the edge of their box. A completely different way of playing. And is it more successful? Absolutely not.
4-1, 2 from Hatate, Maida and Carter Vickers with the others. Armstrong with the counter for Kilmarnock. There will be a Killy ball at the edge of their own box here. O'Hara with the right foot, long ball forward down the left hand side, and Daba gets nothing on it, and it just goes out for a Celtic throw-in, and the ball will come right back at the Kilmarnock defence, I would imagine, in the next few minutes. Sinisalo digging it out to Taylor. He can't find him though, it's a little bit loose. It goes out for a Killy throw-in on the far side, which Armstrong takes quickly. Back to Joe Wright from Mayo, and turn back to O'Hara. Carter Vickers will just see it back to his keeper from the long ball though. And that's a problem for Killy. The rare occasions they've got it, just hoofing it straight back to Celtic.
Yeah, and listen, the goalkeeper could have maybe taken a touch and just picked a better pass, but he elected, because he was getting closed down by Adamida, to play it first time. He just plays it over the top of everybody and goes straight through to Sinisalo in the Celtic goal.
Scales out to Maida on the left-hand side, shielding it from Mayo, rolls it back to Scales. Infield to Taylor, moves it left to right for Johnston. It's up in the Kilmarnock box. Killy defending so deep, everyone back behind the ball. Forrest plays it low into the penalty spot area for Ida. Touches it back to Forrest. Fires it out wide right of the box for Engels. Level with the penalty spot, finds Hatate at close quarters. McGregor behind him.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, obviously, Kilmarnock, the two midfielders, the whole midfield players, Lyons and Donnelly, is almost trying to mark man for man.
There's a chance to Hatate, he's on a hat-trick, he's in, he's on the left, it's blocked by the keeper, and then Maida fires it home on the rebound. And he gets his double, and Celtic get their fifth before the break. It looked as though Rio Hatate was steeling himself for a hat-trick. He hit it with the outside of the right boot when it wouldn't sit in his left. O'Hara made the save, but Maida was there in what is the season of his dreams in the green and white hoops. He makes it Celtic 5, Kilmarnock 1, and we're not even at the break.
Wow, and again, just the space opens up in the heart of that Kilmarnock defence for Hatate to run straight through, and the ball's just laid into his path, and he could have, again, just right in the top of the goalkeeper, and nobody was able to go and deal with him. I see the Kilmarnock players all kind of shouting at each other, and this midfielders shouting at defenders and so on. 5-1 and what they're checking it for offside. Maybe Maeda was.
I think he might
offside.
marginally be off, Packy. Sorry to cut you off.
Sorry, Stephen's in the studio and will have seen replays. We don't have that luxury. Stephen, take it away.
It's going to be the line of the arm where he is, because his shoulder might just be off. Adamida originally, when he lays it off to Rio Hatate, it's a bit of an accidental layoff, but it's a definite tight one.
Well, John Beaton, it looks as though this one's going to be ruled out, so we'll stay at 4-1. A little bit of respite for Kilmarnock, that. And that goal is wiped from the annals. Maeda stays on 31 for the season. Celtic stay on 4 for the afternoon. They lead 4-1, and Maeda left disappointed with that. Hatate would have been even more disappointed had it been he who dispatched it, given it would have been a hat-trick.
Yeah, but what's not working, sorry Liam for cutting across you, what's not working for Kilmarnock is that they've dropped back almost onto the edge of their box and allowing Celtic all the possession. There's no real pressure on the centre halves, there's no real pressure as Celtic move that ball from side to side, and they're able then to just pick a space.
Sloppy defending by Celtic, and Scales almost give it straight to a Kilmarnock player who might get in to make it 4-2 all of a sudden.
Actually, he did well, because it was a bad pass from the goalkeeper that wasn't accurate, and Scales had to almost go to ground and get a touch on it to give it to Carter Vickers to mop up. But taking a chance inside their own box.
Here comes Celtic again. It's come off the defender and behind for the corner. O'Kelly are annoyed because they got a player down. Well, the action and the attack for Celtic raged on ahead of them. We're about 30 seconds away from the stoppage time, which we'll be finding out about shortly. The Kelly player still down. Can't tell who it is that's been decked. Is it Brad Lyons? No, it's not him, because it's Donnelly, in fact, who's down. He's been helped to his feet by Hatate.
Yeah, I think it was I'm not sure what it was. It looked to me just maybe like a coming together or a flailing arm. The referee didn't take any notice of it and allowed play to continue.
1 minute added. Celtic corner. They try and get that 5th goal before the interval. Engels over the corner, over on the far side. The Celtic left as he attacked the goal to the right for the next minute. John Beaton's gone out to speak to Celtic's Belgian midfielder for whatever reason before he takes this set play. Adamida's waiting on the 6-yard line, hoping to get in on the act himself. And Engels waits to whip this in with the right foot. He does have Forrest as a short pass option. Right in front of the safe standing section here. In from Engels, and in to the back post, and Maeda was very close to turning it home. It stays Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 1, and that, I would imagine, now will be the half-time scoreline. Yeah,
that was poor defending again from Kilmarnock. You cannot allow the ball to go that far and almost bounce inside your 6-yard box. Somebody's got to go and attack it, whether the centre halves or the goalkeeper's got to come. But certainly you can't allow it to drift in, and it was nearly put into the back post by Maeda again.
We've played the minute that was added. O'Hara launches it forward with the right foot, and John Beaton brings the... In fact, he hasn't. He's looked as though he checked his watch. He's just done so again. Play goes on. Not forward to Bobby Wales. Now he does go for half-time. The Celtic fans having some fun in the sun here in the East End of Glasgow. They'd hoped a week ago that this would be the title party this afternoon. They'll have to wait till tomorrow at the earliest for that, but they have turned on the style this afternoon of the champions. 2 goals from Hatate, 1 each from Maeda and Carter Vickers. One of the Hatate goals was outstanding, perhaps bettered by the strike from Carter Vickers. Danny Armstrong with his first of the season pulled one back for Kelly just before the half-hour mark. But this has been all about Celtic, who've had almost 90% possession throughout that first half. Kilmarnock, they will be lamenting the fact that it's half-time and not full-time, because they cannot get out of here quickly enough and back down the M77. At the interval at Celtic Park, it is Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 1.
The Scottish Premiership.
From BBC Radio Scotland.
Well, Brendan Rodgers was asking for a reaction from his players after that disappointment in Perth last Sunday, and my goodness has he got it. What a performance from Celtic in the first half there at Celtic Park against Kilmarnock. Michael Stewart and Stephen McGinn are alongside
it's
me.
It's normally the folk at the grounds that are caught eating a pie.
Do you know what's happened?
You're just caught eating a chocolate bar.
I was caught through in the off-the-ball trail, and I came through eating something. I'm still digesting it. What a performance from Celtic.
I mean, it's quite incredible. I was just saying to Stephen there during the game, and when Celtic are like that, the pace that they play at, there's nobody that can live with them. And Brendan Rodgers will be absolutely over the moon because he has well and truly got a reaction there. The only solace for Kilmarnock is that it's 4-5 because it was very, very tight. It was the right call.
I didn't see that. I was through off the ball, so it was a tight one.
It was the right call, but it was very, very tight and could easily have been 5. In fact, it could easily have been more.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the quality of some of the goals. The opener from Rio Tati, Stephen, on 9 minutes. Great build-up play, and the technique from him was special.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, from a Kilmarnock point of view, you can maybe critical of Brad Lyons. He's almost been done with the 1-2 and he's ball watching. Rio Tati opens up. But, I mean, the quality of the goals, as Michael said, we were speaking off here, Celtic brought a level of performance they don't need to usually hit domestically. I mean, we spoke before the show about how far ahead they are. They can usually win these types of games, maybe 80-90%. The first 25 minutes was the performance they brought in Munich, home to Leipzig, away at Villa for spells in that game, and they've just absolutely blown Kilmarnock away. And just at that point, we are thinking there could be a couple of early subs here because it became about for Kilmarnock in terms of damage limitation. Danny Armstrong gets the goal back. Celtic have maybe come off it a bit. But there's a lot of work for Derek McInnes and his coaching staff to do to just organise this and make sure it doesn't get messier.
See, when just saying about playing at that pace, Stephen's talking about Brad Lyons. I'm not as critical of him because that's what happens when you are getting folk running. It's not just one or two. It's like the whole team's.
What's it like, Michael, on the park when that's happening around?
But I'm making a general point here. The importance of playing 1-2s in and around the box is huge because it is instinctive for everybody in that split second to look at the ball. And when you play at that pace, 1-2s, third men running, it is almost impossible to defend against. And when you've got it as a collective like Celtic did there, as Stephen's talking about the performances that they've brought in certain games and they've just brought it there. Not to give Kilmarnock an out, because obviously it's their responsibility to try to negate that, but it's very, very difficult to do that when you have that pace and that interchange amongst the team, and the synergy there was it was outstanding.
I've played for Derek McInnes, and you'll be assigned a player in terms of out of possession, almost a man for man. That's your player, and you can take the responsibility if he does something. But Celtic have done, especially in that first 25 minutes, everything that totally exposes a man-for-man system. I think of the centre-half stepping into the game. Brendan Rodgers asked for more from everyone. Liam Scales and obviously Vickers scores. Liam Scales and Cameron Carter-Vickers have both stepped in and had a shot at goal. The third man running, they're trying to hit Adam Ida, the third man running, so powerful, so intense, that although you're trying to take responsibility for your man, it's just that quality of player once they hit that level so high.
An absolute joy for the home fans there at Celtic Park today, Pat Bonner. Some of the football's been tremendous.
Yeah, it's been a treat to watch actually, and the way they move the ball and dominate the possession. But I'm going to ask the guys in the studio also. I'm watching it here live and I see the big picture. But the way that Kilmarnock set themselves up is almost like a 4-4. I wouldn't call it a 4-4-2. It's more a 4-4-1-1. But what Fraser Murray, almost not doing a midfield job, but trying to get up to support Bobby, and they've just give up the whole midfield area in that early part of the game, and Celtic just exploited. Stephen, you talked about centre halves stepping into a midfield. Obviously you've got Greg Taylor going in there in an inverted position. They've just absolutely dominated, and those spaces just open up for them now, and the goals were sensational strikes, I've got to say. But Kilmarnock, I watched Kilmarnock in that cup game, and I referenced it during the commentary. and they pressed Celtic really, really high, and they were so much more effective in stopping Celtic. Today, they've just dropped off, and they've allowed Celtic to dominate the midfield. They played into Celtic, but Celtic have been brilliant. Don't get me wrong, I'm taking nothing away from that, but it's just how do you approach it? How do you approach playing against Celtic when you try to stop them? The tactics today has definitely not worked for Kilmarnock.
Packy, the thing, I agree with you. The thing, you concede 4 goals inside 25 minutes. The first thing, you're almost wanting to pick holes in it. But sometimes there's levels upon levels between these players. And Kilmarnock they haven't been able to snap in. I'm sure the intention was in their own half. Once you can get close to people, have a bite at them, see if they fancy it. Celtic absolutely fancy it today, and they've blown them away.
That's why Brendan Rodgers is everything that he was talking about yesterday and before the game. That's why he's saying all those things, because he recognises when Celtic perform at that level, nobody can live with them. And also, like Packy's just said, irrespective of the opponent, it becomes a joy to watch. So the punters that are going along, they're enjoying that. And I challenge anybody not to enjoy watching football like that, because the tempo and the pace, the intensity, that's the thing that stands out, and that's the thing that separates Celtic from anybody that pretends to get close to them.
Yeah, Michael, they used the ball really well. They worked it 1-2 touch passing, but waiting for the moment to penetrate.
Yep.
And there was runners going. Johnson got in on occasions. Maeda gets in on the other side. You've got midfielders. When there's no pressure higher up the pitch on your players, and you're camped around the edge of the box, Celtic find a way.
Yeah, because of that pace, Packy. I'm just looking at the goals, the replays of the goals coming through. Maeda's second goal. Again, ball comes back to Johnson on the edge of the box. Straight away, ball's coming back to him. Bang! He plays it forward, plays a 1-2, runs off the back of Liam Donnelly. It's what I'm saying before. As an opponent, your player is about to receive the ball, so you're going to engage him. He's then playing it past you and running. It is so difficult to be able to run one way, turn, check, get back and actually affect it. So when you've got quality in and around the edge of the box that play 1-2s like that,
and that's why I
so
question,
difficult to defend.
Yeah, Michael, that's why I question, how do you set up? Do you drop back into a low block and allow Celtic the ball? They'll find a way.
Yep.
And most games, they didn't find it against St Johnstone, to be fair, but St Johnstone were good on the counter-attack, but Kilmarnock haven't been able to even get show us that they can counter-attack. But if you engage Celtic higher up and don't allow the centre halves to get easy possession, you might have a little chance. And you take a risk by that space in behind, of course, but you have to go into almost a mid-block for me against Celtic. Otherwise, you get absolutely cut up.
But the way Celtic have been playing, Packy, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, it's almost been relying on Kuhn or Jota, getting the ball out to them, and then they go and create something. What Celtic have hit Kilmarnock with today is, as I said, both centre-halves getting in and having shots. Taylor's involved in the play.
Yeah.
With Forrest and Alistair Johnson's able to overlap. Engels, Hatate's on a hat-trick. Engels plays a defence splitting pass for the second goal for Alistair Johnson to cross it. Brendan Rodgers has asked more of the whole group. He's challenging the whole group, not just the wingers, not just the striker. You're going to be creative, you're going to make things happen, and they've all played their part today.
I understand that, and I agree with you totally. He's asked every single player from an attacking perspective, and then when they lose the ball or it pops out, they win it back very, very quickly. You can do that when you're playing 40 yards from the opponent's goal, and they're comfortable doing that, and they're brilliant doing that, Celtic. But it's when they have to then sort of do it higher up the pitch, and okay, they rely on the pace of Maeda to get behind. I think you have a better chance. It's just my opinion.
Packy,
it's only my opinion.
I would look, if you were looking at things in the cold light of day in the build-up to a game against Celtic, I personally would agree with you, and I've said it, enough. I would set a team up to go and engage Celtic higher up the park. But, like anything, there's risk that comes with that. But I just think that when you're going to play a game of football, nobody really wants to be sitting in around the edge of their box. And I think, when you play Celtic, that if you do that, they will eventually grind you down and they'll win the game anyway. And you come away with this empty, horrible feeling of, what was the point in that? Whereas, you go and engage Celtic up the park, I think you have a greater opportunity of trying to get something out the game. But if that doesn't, for example, work within the first 20-30 minutes and you start losing some goals, the psychology becomes all the more difficult to keep doing that, and then you might end up on the end of a cricket score.
What does he do now, Kenneth McInnes?
Well, Stephen said it after about 25 minutes. He's absolutely spot on. I think they were 3-0 down. It's damage limitation. There's no, Kilmarnock have got no way back into this game to get anything out of it. Right. So they've got to think about the implications of the games that come up in the relegation fight. They've got to just limit the game, stop the bleeding.
Yeah, what about the goal that they did get? It was definitely a cross. Question marks over the keeper there, Pat, or allowances, or what are you thinking?
Well, listen, the ball's played from a very, wide area. He picks it up, he cuts it back in on his left foot, and suddenly the goalkeeper then picks up a position almost in the middle of his goal, but he comes off his line because they're expecting that ball to be coming in around about between the penalty spot and the 6-yard box. That's the kind of position that you would normally pick up, and you hope then that you can make up the ground and get a punch on it or intercept it, or then you check back onto your goal line if somebody's going to get a header on. Normally it never goes into that very, very back post position that it ended up in, and that's what catches you out. But I'm not going to criticise them, because I think it was almost a fluke, you could call it. It was a really... There was pace on the cross also, and it was like a shot come cross.
Packy, I'd be critical of maybe of Arnie Engels. You think about having Danny Armstrong in that position, you've just got to say, right, he's got me one-on-one, I'm not the best defensively, I'm not a full-back. Go make him cross it with his right foot. Do not let him into his left foot, because he's got the quality to... I mean, I know it's a fluke, I know it's not a shot, but it's an excellent cross. It's a testing one for the goalkeeper and the Celtic defence. You just can't let him back into the left foot.
No, I agree with you, and that's where you try to stop the cross, and that's the whole team collective unit defending. The first thing is stop the cross. Second thing is, can you deal with the cross when it comes in there, and so on. And so it is a collective, and I agree with you. Everybody has to take the responsibility.
Michael, when this game's done and dusted, some really big games this afternoon as the top six will be shaped round about 5 o'clock. I look at that game at Fir Park today, Motherwell against Hearts. It's huge, isn't it?
It's monumental. I mean, it is the proverbial season-defining game, really. And you've got 90 minutes to make sure that you get into the top six, obviously, for both sides. Or it's, well, from Hearts' perspective, it's a failure if they don't. For Motherwell, I don't think you can be as critical. No. It's not as defining for that, but you can't ignore the game in Paisley as well, obviously, because of St Mirren, the chance that they've got to get into the top six as well. But yes, the game at Fir Park between Hearts and Motherwell is a monumental game. It really is.
Yeah, all covered on Open All Mics this afternoon. We're on the telly, BBC One 4:30 and 5:30. It's one of these days, Stephen, I can imagine fans at the ground tuned in to Open All Mic, particularly in Paisley, particularly in Motherwell this afternoon. It's going to go back and forth, I'm sure. Yeah,
we couldn't have asked for better results last week in terms of the drama of the final day before the split, and that's where all the chat about the league reconstruction, everything, the split still has been one of the best things that's ever come into our game in terms of the tendencies that will be at Fir Park, that will be at the Smizer Stadium today. The fans have bought into it. They've bought into getting into that top six and the European places available.
The split definitely works.
Yes.
I just wonder whether there's a different type of split that could happen. See, when you look at Belgium and Greece, for example, they have a championship group where the points reset for the top team if they're top by 13 points. There's a calculation that's done, which then actually makes the title race a potential little bit closer. That's something I think would be interesting to see. Could that lead to somebody else other than two teams for Glasgow having a chance at the title?
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. Whatever we do go with, if it does change, I think a split is imperative.
Yes.
We've really enjoyed it. I think it's a Swedish model. It's 14. Look at a 6-8 split. That's something I know that is getting talked about. So plenty at stake this afternoon. All the action coming on Open All Mics from 3 o'clock. And then from 5:30, we'll get the fans on. First up, a Hearts fan today. He'll be at the game. What on earth will their position be come 5 o'clock this evening? Also later on, just a club I want to have a closer look at. We've got a Queen's Park fan coming on. So much going on at that club right now. So the team's back out at Celtic Park. Let's get back to our commentary team there of Pat Bonner and Liam McLeod.
Thanks, Kenny. Yeah, I just wonder as well, if you're looking at league reconstruction, could you potentially have a fight for a European competition playoff in the top 6 like they do in the Netherlands? I mean, 4 teams are all in the mix for that, and then they have playoffs at the end of the season to determine who will be the final European representative. I suppose it would help if you have as many European places available to you as possible, and Scotland is pretty close to losing one of those. Thankfully, it's been retained by this season's performances on the continent as Celtic prepare to get the second half underway. A couple of changes for Kilmarnock at the start of the second half. Dees and Watkins have replaced Armstrong and Wales after the break, so Derek McInnes trying to freshen things up. His team 4-1 down as Celtic prepare to kick off, going right to left in the sunshine here in the green and white hoops. Kilmarnock in their changed colours of all navy with gold flashes, as Carter Vickers finds Johnston. Celtic as you were at the start of the match. So Sinisalo in goal, Johnston, Carter Vickers, Scales, Taylor, Engels, McGregor, Hitate, Forrest, Maida and Ida. And it's Maida driving down the left. His ball in field is cut out by Mayo. He breaks the former Kelly man Taylor, and he squares it to Scales. Kilmarnock shooting towards the Lisbon line stand in the second half. It's a thankless task for them, really. 4-1 could have been worse. Celtic missing a couple of chances and having another Maida goal ruled out.
Yeah, I think just Kilmarnock, the change they've made, they've got Robbie Dees gone into left back, and as Ndaba has sort of almost gone in as a holding midfield player in front of the back 4. He'll pop into the back 4 when needed because he's a defender, but that's kind of the defensive change you would call it.
Celtic in possession over on the right with Johnston. Goes back to Carter Vickers, so Marley Watkins leading the line for Kilmarnock. Looks like Dees to left back, and Daba's moved into the middle, to the midfield, alongside Donnelly. And David Watson's pushed out to the right flank. Brad Lyons in the middle as well, so he's tried to beef things up a bit. And I think Stephen mentioned damage limitation in that first half. That's exactly what it is for Killie now. They do not want more goals going in against them, because, as I said, in that first half, goal difference could be crucial when it comes to staying out of that 11th spot. It is Scales on the ball and rolling it forward to Hitate. He's turning away from Lyons, shifting it to the right of the centre circle for Carter Vickers. See the Kilmarnock legend Raymond Gummery down there, just about to take his seat. Tough watch for him this afternoon. Scottish Cup winning heroes. Hitate dinks it forward. Maida trying to get in behind. O'Hara with a challenge. He's seen it behind for the goal kick for Killie, who trail 4-1. And of course, Packy, was your great friend Tommy Burns, who led Kilmarnock into the top flight all those years ago. They've only had one season away from the top table since 1993, when Tommy Burns took them up, and they have generally, a lot of that's been top 6 as well, particularly under Jim Jeffries and Stevie Clark.
Yeah, listen, Tommy went down there, loved it, absolutely loved it down in Kilmarnock.
He's a legend down there as well, isn't he?
He is, but he loved just the environment, to try to achieve something with a smaller team, and he did brilliant. He nearly brought me down there too. I'd agreed to sign, and when he came back to Celtic, he brought me back to Celtic, and I couldn't resist working with Tommy, but I was going to go down with him and Starkey down there for a couple of years.
We'll never know how it would have gone. Greg Taylor with a throw in here, the edge of the D, level with the edge of the D of his own box on this main stand side. Taylor bowling it, looking for Ida, right with the challenge. No foul on Ida, says the ref, as McGregor gets it back to Sinisalo, who clears with the left foot out to this near side. How do you think Liami Sinisalo has done since replacing Kasper Schmeichel?
Yeah, listen, he hasn't had a huge amount to do. I think the first game he played, he had that big save, I think, just at a point where Celtic could have went behind, but I think since, I don't think he's really done anything brilliant or anything wrong. I think it's been fairly consistent. He looks like he can pass the ball. He looks like he can make saves. The big test for him will come, I think, at Ibrox, maybe in the cup games also, and that. But you know, there he is. He's a nice passer of the ball, nice He's knocked a ball up to Adamida there, and that's what you want. You want somebody to be able to make good decisions, but also have the quality.
Oh, that's going to, I was waiting to say, it's going to annoy the Celtic fans. Ida looked as though he'd done well to win it back off Brad Lyons down below us.
Yeah, I
John
think he
Beaton
did.
blows the whistle.
Yeah, I think he did, and most of the people were sort of around us in the front of the stand there were a little bit shocked that free kick was given, but it allows Kilmarnock to get players back up the pitch. Remember, they scored their goal initially from, it was a free kick that sort of went out into the wing, and they eventually found Daniel Armstrong with the ball.
Armstrong went off at the break. As Donnelly takes the free kick clip with the right foot to the left-hand side of the Celtic box. Carter Vickers wins the header. And then Forrest trying to prevent the corner. He's done very well. He's found Johnston, who is bundled to the ground by Marley Watkins. And that will be a free kick to Celtic on the right-hand side of their box. Carter Vickers takes the free kick quickly back to his keeper, though there's 2 balls in the pitch. They got rid of one of them. Play on, it Scales out to Taylor on this near side. Then into Liam Scales again, striding up to the halfway line. Checks his run and squares it infield to McGregor. He finds Carter Vickers. I did say earlier on, Packy, be interesting to see how Celtic approach this second half. It looked as though they were going to keep their feet on the Killie throat.
Yeah, well, listen,
that first half.
I think that's what does a good ball from Scales there out to Maeda.
Yeah, he's evaded Mayo. He's now at the byline inside the Kilmarnock box, scoops it towards the back post, swung over the byline on its way across. That'll be a goal kick to Killie. Yeah, 4-1 to Celtic.
It was a great ball, and I think it was Mayo that sort of tried to intercept it, that didn't get there, and he was almost on his own, Maeda, but he just caught in 2 minds what to do. Will I cut it back? Will I have a strike at goal? What will I do? And he did neither, and the ball ends up going over the byline.
Well, this afternoon is the 14th time this season that Celtic have scored 4 goals. Some of those occasions they've gone on to score more. That's what they'll be hoping for today. Lyons finds Watkins, back to Lyons on the near side. Watkins now level with the Celtic penalty spot. His attempted cross blocked by his former Aberdeen teammate Scales. As Donnelly's running back, or running towards the Celtic goal there, and he's had it nicked off him just at the last second. He's not getting the corner. It will be a Celtic ball goal kick, which Sinisalo was going to take unless the free kick was given.
It was a free kick.
Yeah.
It was strange. Or was it offside?
It must have been offside, yeah. Donnelly. Sinisalo has it. He plays it short to Carter Vickers to his right. The US international taking it up to the halfway point. Rolls it into the Kilmarnock half for Engels. Goes back to Carter Vickers. This time he chips it long, looking for Ida behind. Too much on it though. And it sails all the way through to O'Hara. Stephen McGinn is watching this in the studio for us. He'll be there for Open All Mics a little bit later. He'll be watching those changes Derek McInnes made at the break, and I suppose Stephen, he'll be hoping that it just kind of solidifies things for them, and if you get out of here with a 3-goal defeat, he'd probably take that right now. Yes, I'm sure he would. I'm sure Stephen would have agreed with me had his microphone been faded up, but there you go. It is
the chocolate bars again.
Are you there, Stephen? No, he's not. We'll just continue without him right now, as difficult as that will be. Ndaba out to the left-hand side for Robbie Dees, looking to try and get Murray involved. Headed out by Johnston, and out for a throw-in on the north stand side for Kilmarnock. We've played 53, Celtic 4, Killie 1.
Yeah, the game's gone into a little bit of a lull from Celtic's perspective. Kilmarnock's got a little bit more possession in the second half. The changes, I think, has probably, you're right, has helped them. They obviously have that target up front with Marley Watkins now, that they can actually play balls down the channel for him and so on, and he'll work those channels well.
Tati on the turn, and the challenge on him. The ref's happy with it. Kilmarnock have it with Lyons at the edge of the box. He fires it wildly over the bar. It will remain 4-1 to the home team. And Sinisalo taking the ball quickly to Carter Vickers, who again walking out of defence, finds McGregor. Carter Vickers to his right. Interesting to see how the post-split fixture list looks. Should find that out on Monday. Although don't hold me to that, but I'm imagining it will be. The SPFL will release the post-split fixtures, and Kilmarnock know that their hopes of consecutive top 6 finishes were ended last week. As Maida picks up and finds Forrest. Back to Taylor, midway inside the Kilmarnock half now. Carter Vickers again, the Celtic fans, some of them encouraging him to shoot as he did in the first half with spectacular results. Here's McGregor. Square ball to Taylor. Goes back to Scales. Short to McGregor. Scales, square to Carter Vickers. Everyone bar Sinisalo is in the Kilmarnock half right now. Johnston over on the far side touchline, taking it for a walk in field. He moves it back to Carter Vickers, who finds Taylor. Now Carter Vickers out to the far side. Forrest leaves it for Engels. And he passes it back to Carter Vickers, who in turn plays it quickly to McGregor.
Yeah, Kilmarnock obviously going man for man, and Marley Watkins trying to work between the two centre halves. And that Sully just moving the ball, keeping it flowing, and waiting for that little moment so somebody maybe makes a penetrating run, and now that the timing of that has got to be right.
Great play by Callum McGregor, evades the challenge of Donnelly. Now to the left for Engels. Engels slips it into the box, left hand side for Taylor. Taylor then to Engels at the left angle of the area, but his cross evades everyone and sails behind the opposite side of the goal for a goal kick to Kelly. It is Celtic 4, Kelly 1.
Yeah, just making it a little bit more difficult for Celtic now, and you know that man for man middle of the pitch, which he didn't really do in the first half. There's too much space. They exploited it, Celtic. Here, you know, it's slightly different in the fact that he's left one up front and everybody else has gone back into a defensive role and matching up with Celtic's midfielders.
O'Hara with the goal kick. Long ball with the right foot out to this near side. Scales wins the header ahead of Watkins. Will break to Engels. Flashes it forward to Hatate outside of the boot. Looking for either Ida or Maida. No chance of either getting onto it. And it's right through to Kieran O'Hara. Sports sound here on BBC Radio Scotland. We're on Extra, 810 medium wave, on digital and online at bbc.co.uk/Sports Scotland. Later in the Premiership on Open All Mics, you've got match of the day, Motherwell Hearts, St Mirren Ross County, Dundee United, St Johnstone. Coverage of the lower leagues as well, getting to the stage where the prizes are being given out, and full coverage to come on BBC Radio Scotland later on. Highlights on Sports Scene tonight, 7:15 on the BBC Scotland channel. Jota's going to be on for Celtic shortly. McGregor to his right for Engels, then back to Scales in the centre circle, and then Carter Vickers for McGregor. Infield to Taylor, over on the right hand side.
Yeah, I think it'll be Jota will come on for Forrest. I think he's done well, Forrest. You know, he's been prominent in the first half, linking up really well with Johnson on that right hand side, but there's no doubt he hasn't played much football, and it's probably time to give him a little bit of a rest.
Yeah, he's also, well, he's 33 now, James Forrest. It's incredible when you think his debut was almost exactly 15 years ago. Came on against Motherwell, replaced Aidan McGeady and scored in a 4-0 win, and he's not really looked back in his Celtic career, but the fact that's 15 years ago is frightening. Here is Carter Vickers to the right for Johnston, now with Hatate holding off in Daba, and he goes back to Carter Vickers, knocking on the hour mark at Celtic Park. Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 1. McGregor plays it short to Carter Vickers, and Forrest on the touchline in the far side. Instead he comes in field to Hatate. Scales leaving it for Taylor.
Yeah, there's definitely less room in that middle of the pitch for Celtic just to keep that ball flowing. They're going from side to side and trying to play around that sort of group of Kilmarnock players, but it's just slowing the game down slightly and giving Kilmarnock an opportunity to pick their defensive positions.
Carter Vickers on the far side, short to McGregor. And now it's Scales forward to Taylor, and then McGregor under pressure from Watson. He's found Taylor. The possession's just about the same as it was in the first half, as Taylor clips it forward for Maida. It's enough to just nudge Mayo out of the way, and Maida has it. He's coming away from goal, though, out of the box, looks to play it through to Taylor, lays it back to Hitate. Ida, not a great first touch, and it kind of took it away from goal. And it goes behind for the goal kick, and it will stay Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 1 in the 60th minute, and it will be a triple change for Celtic. It's back to the depth of the squad that they have, that I mentioned earlier, as James Forrest comes off, Jota will come on. For him, Kuhn will come on, and Schlupp will come on, presumably for Greg Taylor. But James Forrest, he's returned to the equation, Packy. The league title will take him above everyone in Celtic's history. It will be his 26th winner's medal at Celtic, which takes them above Bobby Lennox. And you would imagine if they reach the Scottish Cup final, and they are big favourites to go on and win the Scottish Cup final, then that would be honour number 27.
Yeah, listen, he's had a great career here at Celtic. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And you know, to that amount of medals, I don't know where he keeps them all, whether it's in a safe somewhere or he displays them, but certainly he'll need a big display cabinet for all those medals, and I'm sure he's got plenty of trophies also to go alongside them. Man of the matches and different things. So, but you know, you look back in your career when you retire, and when medals will tell you what you've achieved at Celtic Football Club, and he's one of the greats.
Callum McGregor, with 2 more medals, would draw level with Lennox. He's another one who will be well remembered. Celtic, an indelible mark that the pair of them have made at this football club. As Carter Vickers picks up, it's certainly been one of the 2 major glittering periods in Celtic's modern day history. As Maida picks up and looks for Kuhn in behind, down by the corner flag. He's going to keep it in play. A wonderful skill, takes him away from Dees, into the box he goes. Kuhn is just on, shoots, blocked, and behind for the corner. Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 1 on 61. Brendan Rodgers clearly just looking for a little bit more energy. Yeah, the substitutes,
freshness, energy, but they have to, you know, work hard to get that energy. It's not just about walking onto the pitch and it'll come. You've got to work and put the graft in also, and that's what they'd be looking for.
Out swinging corner coming up from Engels over on the right hand side. Celtic attack, the John Steen stand end of the stadium. Off to our left, and it comes from Engels. Scales leaps, the Kilmarnock defender gets his head onto it. There's a head knock as well, and the referee stops play. It was Joe Wright that did well to defend that against Scales.
Yeah, Scales is a big lad, you know, don't underestimate him. He's a big thin lad, but he's improved in the air, there's no doubt for me. You know, and again, he's had that injury to his face, but that didn't put him off on that occasion to get up there and challenge Joe Wright, and I think he used his elbow just into the back of his head, and that's what sort of Joe Wright goes down and gets the free kick.
Understandably as well, Packy loves backing the Irish players. He'd be disappointed Adam Ida's gone off without getting on the score sheet.
Yeah, well, listen, you know, it's not so much they're Irish, but I like to see...
don't deny it, you've told me before.
No, listen, I want to see our young Irish players do well and get games week in, week out, and when they get down to international level, they're sharp and they're able to perform for us. But in general terms, you know, my argument with Scales is that it was his consistency and the way that he's come back from being almost out of the club into a position where he's been really, really good. So I'll back him up. Listen, if you're not performing, I'll criticise the same as every other time, or critique. I don't like the word criticise. It's a critique always.
Yeah, he's sliding doors, isn't it? Because it looked like he was away back to Aberdeen on a full-time contract, and it was the same with Ryan Christie here. You might remember Celtic were trying to sign John McGinn. That didn't ever happen. Ryan Christie took his chance, and it looked like he was going to be going back to Aberdeen as well, because he's gone all the way to the Premier League down south and Hall of Fame with the national team. Scales has taken his chance for sure, and he's a little bit of adversity in the shape of Austin Trusty to deal with this season, as Jota finds Engels left-hand side of the box against Ndaba, and Ndaba's defended it well, and he's actually looked better in Ndaba, more comfortable in the central midfield position, going back to help the defence as Kelly get a free kick for a foul on Watkins just outside the centre circle. In 64 minutes, Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 1.
Yeah, and listen, it's comfortable at the moment. Obviously, the same, I suppose, pace has gone out of the game that was there in the first half when Celtic were sensational in that period. But I think it's just down to what the changes that was made and from Kilmarnock also just strengthening up that midfield, not allowing Celtic maybe to dominate as much as he did and almost exploit the spaces that was there. So they've had to now go around that sort of almost group of players, and it's taken a little bit longer, and you can actually then pick your defensive positions. Decisions are better, but if you're getting nailed through the middle, then you're in real trouble.
Wonderful dancing there from Jota down below us. Wouldn't have looked out of place. The Grand Ole Opry, that, Packy, as he stood on the ball and swiveled.
Are you familiar with the Grand Ole Opera?
No, the Grand Ole Opry. No, I'm not, but I know what kind of dancing goes on there. On the other side of the city is Carter Vickers flights it forward. The header from Joe Wright, helped on its way by Watson. Now it's Watkins, back to Watson. Left-footed ball looking for Murray in behind, but Johnston will see it back to Sinisalo. 65 played, Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 1. I mentioned those big games to come later on this afternoon. A couple of huge ones as well in the Premiership tomorrow. Aberdeen Rangers, noon kick-off at Pittodrie. And of course Celtic are going to win this game, which means Rangers lose to Aberdeen tomorrow. I would imagine there'll be several thousand Celtic fans returning to this very part of the city tomorrow night to celebrate their latest title. 13 from 14 seasons. Hibs Dundee at Easter Road follows. Hibs look to make it 17 league games unbeaten. It's been an extraordinary run under David Gray since the end of November. Stunning.
Yeah, and again, when you get that result and get that 1-1, that builds. It's all about confidence too from a group of players. But when you get beat every week, it just can almost affect you so much. And that I've been there when we went down to Reading, we couldn't win a game for ages, and then suddenly we won one, and then we go on a decent run, and that's what can happen.
Kilmarnock have a thrown up the pitch here. It's about level with the edge of the D of the Celtic box. David Watson's over it. Scored a memorable late equaliser here as Kilmarnock took a point from Celtic Park last season and bowled a long throw into the Celtic box towards the right angle of the 6-yard area. Wright did well to win the header, nodded it onto the 6-yard line, and Murray latches it over the bar. Yeah. Stays 4-1 Celtic as we go into the final quarter of the match.
Yeah, half chance, again, as a set piece, long throw-in, so just couldn't quite deal with the first contact, and then just Murray Fraser coming in, just couldn't get over the top of the ball and plays it well over the crossbar.
Schlupp across the centre circle for Carter Vickers. To Schlupp again. Finds Engels on this left-hand side. Jota down the line. Instead he turns it infield along the grass to McGregor. Then Scales to Hatate. Loose ball, couldn't find Schlupp. Brad Lyons gets onto it and finds Watkins. Marley Watkins driving forwards. Good play by Watkins, and then decides to try and take them all on. It's away from Scales. Carter Vickers closes the door in his face though. Good positive play by Marley Watkins. He's been a match winner against Celtic before, and Sinisalo showed a bit too much of it to Donnelly, and then brings the Celtic keeper down. He managed to just stick it away. Do you remember, did you see, you were at McDermott Pie, you would have seen that last week against Maida.
Yeah, but he was lucky since Sinisalo there. He took a touch when he just had to play it first time out to Johnson, and that touch then put him in trouble.
Chance up the other end. Engels at the edge of the Kilmarnock box, getting it from Maida, going to ground, winning the free kick against Donnelly. The frustration on the face of Derek McInnes is there for all to see down below us. He knows this is a huge chance for Celtic to score a 5th goal in the 69th minute of the match. They lead 4-1.
Yeah, it's in a perfect position, isn't it? About 3 or 4 yards outside the 18-yard box, just on the right side of the arc, and I probably couldn't. It probably has the favourite maybe to take it on.
Favours the left footer, doesn't it?
Yeah, you've got Ingles also over the ball with his right foot, but I think it favours definitely the left footer.
O'Hara standing in the centre of his goal, just off his line. And this is 19 yards from goal. Kuhn and Engels wait. It is Engels off the top of the wall and then over and wide, and that will be a corner to Celtic on the Celtic left as they attack the goal to the left.
I was Kuhn, I was saying, you just leave that ball for me. I've been out of the team. I've got an opportunity to have a strike at goal with my left foot from that side. You just leave it to me, son. And he doesn't. He just allows Engels to take the free kick, and he hits the ball.
Kuhn goes down. There was a slight appeal for a penalty against Donnelly there. Kelly clear out for a Celtic throw-in on the near side. Engels bowling it back to McGregor. And now Schlupp to Johnston. It's actually, and I thought Celtic were going to go full pelt second half, it's actually been a very similar game to the recent one against Hearts here.
Yeah,
Celtic
no, listen,
were 3-0 up at the break.
I do, I absolutely. I think they've the game well won, no doubt about that. They're passing the ball, but it's not as slick as it was in that first half. Kilmarnock have restructured and they look stronger. They're getting their few tackles in, and I think Marley Watkins has done a good job since coming on up front. He's worked the two centre halves, closing them, but he's also picked the ball up, and he's a better target man, I think, than Wales was, and he's more experienced also.
Satati for Celtic on the left, inside channel. Rolls it back into his own half for Scales. Finds Carter Vickers. It's always odds against Kilmarnock winning this game today, not just because they're at Celtic Park, but they haven't won away from home since the 30th of October. They beat Hearts 2-1 at Tynecastle. 11 games on the road since then. 2 draws is all they've mustered. They've lost each of their last 6. That's going to be 7. Hibs, Celtic here in the Cup, Hearts, Aberdeen, Ross County, the 5-1 hammering at St Mirren. And here, and of course that day in Paisley saw them concede goals in rapid fire fashion. It's the same today, Celtic racing into their huge lead by 25 minutes.
Yeah, well, I did make, you know, the comments at half-time about, was it the right structure to come up against Celtic, and you know, that's a question for Derek McInnes and the staff to maybe answer. They look a little bit more compact in the second half, there's no doubt about that, although maybe Celtic have taken their foot off the gas a little bit, but they look in a better shape.
Yeah, here's Jota, left-hand side of the Kilmarnock box, takes a touch off Lyons, and behind for another Celtic corner on this near side. There is just over 18 minutes to go in this game, but in truth the game was done at a very early point. Engels to Jota, left-hand side. Engels controls with the undersole and sells Mayo the dummy before rolling it back there to McGregor. And McGregor to Schlupp, and over to that right-hand side for Nicolas Kuhn. Taking on Findlay, level with the Kilmarnock 18-yard line. Back with McGregor, plays it short to Carter Vickers, forward to Engels, and then back to Carter Vickers to his right for McGregor. Finds Kuhn on the touchline. Kuhn then moving in field. And square to Arne Engels, who's brought to the ground again. And that will be another Celtic free kick, but this one is a good bit further out. Good 25, 30 yards from goal, and Callum McGregor it is over it right now. I think he was trying to take it quickly, short.
He was, but he will take it short. It's too far out to have a strike, and he don't have a lot of aerial power in the box, so he has taken it short.
To the right for Engels, he goes back to Carter Vickers. And then Scales, out to the left-hand side for Jota. Up against Mayo, finds Schlupp, and then to Hitati at the left angle of the Killie box. Back to Scales, squares it to Carter Vickers, who will find Johnston. To Carter Vickers again. Right-footed ball, low out to the left-hand side for Schlupp, level with the Kilmarnock 18-yard line. Now it's Jota. Back into the midfield area for Carter Vickers. For Johnston, they're just trying to move Killie around, try and find a way through, but this is another example of Kilmarnock's improvement defensively since half-time.
Yeah, just fill the spaces better in midfield, so Celtic are not penetrating them, they're almost forcing them to play around them, and you know, they'll do that all day, Celtic. They'll keep the ball, but they're not creating the chances that they did in the first half.
Scales to Carter Vickers as we welcome listeners who've been tuned into Off the Ball on BBC Radio Scotland FM. Hello to you. Here at Celtic Park, Celtic leading by 4 goals to 1 and have been since the break. 2 from Hatate and 1 each. Coming, Daizen Maeda getting his 31st goal of the season and a screamer from Cameron Carter-Vickers. Danny Armstrong pulled one back with what was essentially a cross, which deceived Sinisalo. We're already 4-0 down before that ball hit the net, and it has remained that since round about the half-hour mark in the match. And this game being played with nowhere near the pace that we saw in the first half. Celtic prepared to bring on Tony Ralston. Derek McInnes made changes at the break, bringing on Watkins and Dees, and it has had the desired effect with regards to stopping the bleed. Paddy Bonner.
Yeah, and we did ask at half-time what should Derek McInnes do. Obviously change of personnel, change maybe of structure a little bit, and that has helped, and I'm sure he got inside the players' heads to say, listen, second half, forget the first half, second half, or we get out of this, go to 0-0, or we won the second half. That would be the positive that we can go into the next games with, and that's the only thing he could have done, nothing more, and so far it's worked well in the second half for them.
You can hear that change confirmed in the background. Johnston off, Ralston on.
Yeah, no difference, just obviously Tony Ralston will come in and just fresh legs and give Johnson a little bit of a rest, and that he'll do his job in that right back position.
He will, and of course he is currently Scotland's first choice right back in the continued absence of Aaron Hickey. Is Ralston. Scored against Kilmarnock on the opening day of the league season. And Celtic prepared to take their latest corner. There will be an in-swinger from Arne Engels on this near side. Towards the back post it goes. Carter-Vickers can't get onto it. It's headed half away. Hatate to the edge of the box there for McGregor. Rolls it calmly to his left for Jota. Jota then to his right for Hatate. And now Carter-Vickers over to the right side there for Ralston. Gets his cross in. O'Hara punches it away. Engels on the rebound here. Chips for goal off the bar. Really fine effort there. O'Hara, when he punched it away, had left his posting. And the crossbar denies Celtic a 5th for now. On 76.5, they lead 4-1. Engels tries again, but he gets that one horribly wrong. And he slashes it well wide of the right-hand side of the goal frame. And it will stay Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 1 as Kelly prepare to bring on Matty Kennedy for the closing. Less than 15 minutes of the 90 now, and he's going to replace Murray. So Murray's barely been able to get into the game. He's shuffled back out to the left-hand side today. I
think it was a better position for him because your role out there. When he played sort of almost in the middle, you've got to be really clued in to how to play against stop McGregor getting on the ball. You're thinking all the time the defensive stuff, and he's more an attacking type player, and I think that suited him better out on the left-hand side. He's worked hard though.
Plenty Celtic fans heading home now, despite the fact there's more than 10 minutes to go. Had this been the big title party, that wouldn't be happening.
No,
and they've done their bit today though.
Yeah, they're in a position. They're a couple of points away from it from that perspective, and the hard work's been done all season, and they're at a point they would like to get the draw, favouring them to get maybe a home draw in that first game, so that they can go and maybe celebrate it. It depends what Aberdeen does tomorrow, Liam.
Well, it's always a huge one. Sell out at Pittodrie, high noon tomorrow, live here on Sportsound. Highlights of that, and of course Hibs Dundee on Sports Scene tomorrow evening. You'll get highlights of today's 4 Premiership matches on Sports Scene this evening. And Scales rolls it out to Hatate on this near side. Long ball with the right foot. He springs Maeda, left-hand side of the box. Finlay comes to meet him. Maeda rolls it back to the edge of the area for Jota. Jota now back onto his right side, looking to try and get a shot away, which he does. It's blocked on the 6-yard line though. Might even have been by his own man, Hatate.
I think it was actually.
Yeah. Schlup for McGregor on the left side, infield to Jota, now to Scales. Infield to Carter-Vickers. Some Celtic fans wanted him to shoot again. Why not, when you see the results of the shot he took on in the first half?
Yeah, the other player for Kilmarnock that's moved into, I think, his more usual position is David Watson. He's kind of pushed a little bit higher up on top of McGregor, and that suits him also. He works really, really hard.
And a good player. And Jota dancing into the box. Engels gets it back to Jota, but it just runs out the pitch. The left-hand side of the 6-yard box, and it has come off a Kilmarnock player last. There will be another Celtic corner on this near side as they look for this long-awaited 5th goal they thought they had, but Maida had one ruled out at the end of towards the end of the first half. Engels will take this corner on the near side as we approach the final 10 minutes of the 90. Engels with it, in swinger, very deep this time. It's going to be way too deep for everyone, and it sails behind, away over the head of Kuhn for a goal kick to Kelly. And Luke McCowan's going to be next for Celtic to come on, and he's going to replace Maida.
Substitution for Celtic, the player coming on.
31 goals now he's on. Back in and keep referring back to Kyogo Furahashi's best goal-scoring season, which was 34. And he picked up all the Player of the Year accolades that term, and Maida will surely do likewise.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he's had a superb season, very consistent. Obviously the goals is the icing on the cake for him, but it's his ability, his work rate, his pace, really good season. I think for a period there, I think he was probably the main player for Celtic, and without him they may have struggled a wee bit more than they did. But just interesting to see what happens now. Obviously he's come off. Adamida was substituted earlier on, and who actually plays through the middle, or will they play with a kind of a false centre forward?
Yeah, and they're going to presumably now manage to get 90 minutes out of Callum McGregor again, and he was having those issues. He was having to come off and need a little mini spell out with the calf injury.
Yeah, and another player that's so vital to the way that they play, just controlling things.
Are he and Maida the two most important players for Celtic right now?
At the moment, I think so. But Maida's pace and ability to score goals now, absolutely, and Callum just controlling the midfield, orchestrating things, getting on the ball, linking the game.
Kilmarnock have a free kick here with Donnelly pumping it to the left-hand side of the box there. It's Wright's header down into the area, which is knocked half away. Watkins though finds Kennedy. He's not long on, looking for some space. Wright continues to chase it as it's played often by Ralston and behind for a goal kick to Celtic on 82 minutes now, with Celtic leading by 4-1. Killie, the worst away record in the league this season. They've won just 2 of their 16 away Premiership matches, and just 8 of 54 since promotion.
That surprises me. Obviously you've got a very experienced manager in Derek McInnes who has built teams from a defensive perspective also over the years, and look at the experience that they have in their team. So that's did they have a lot of injuries this year? Was that one of the factors?
It's been one or two. Stuart Finlay had an extended period out, and a couple of others have had niggles, but no, he's generally not had to stress too much about that, Derek McInnes. It's very difficult to follow what they did last season, but it just shows you, when they finished 4th last term, how strong they were at Rugby Park, and actually they've been strong at Rugby Park again this term.
But if you have the worst,
is not the problem,
Liam, if you have the worst defensive record, as you highlighted there, that tells you where you're going to be in the league. You're going to be down there, you're going to be struggling, and that's exactly so. That's the area of focus. My question is, because of the experience that they have in the team, why is that the case?
Well, they'll just want to get this game out of the way, and then it's dog eat dog in the bottom 6 when it comes to trying to avoid 11th place. Say 11th. St Johnstone's win over Celtic will have given them all kinds of belief before they go to Tannadice. Team news for those games, by the way, will be dropping at the website, the live text, bbc.co.uk/Sports Scotland. That for the 3 o'clock kickoffs. As Killie come forward, Watson trying to get onto it. It's well defended on his 18-yard line by McGregor, though. And now It is Ralston getting it from Engels. He gets the long ball forward to Kuhn, trying to burn away from Finlay's to check his run. Kuhn now in the box, lays it back to Jota. And then back out wide right for Ralston. The ball in is headed away by Ndaba. And out for a Celtic throw-in over on the far side. 6 of the 90 to play, 4-1 to Celtic.
Yeah, Celtic are just kind of rotating, I suppose, that centre forward position.
Yeah, and there's Kuhn from distance this time, takes a deflection off right and behind for a Celtic corner.
There's nobody really an out-and-out striker on the pitch, but so as McCowan will push himself forward, he'll drop off, somebody else will take the opportunity to get into that position and just maybe cause a little bit of confusion for the centre halves from Kilmarnock.
Yeah, as it stands, Kilmarnock have the second worst defence in the league. Dundee currently conceded 67 in their 32 games. Kilmarnock have conceded 57 with the 4 today. Part of that tally as Carter Vickers finds Hatate, back to Carter Vickers, who squares it to McGregor, and then out to this left hand side for Engels. Engels then squares it to Ralston, and then Carter Vickers forward to Hatate. Ralston picks up on the right, it's a very deep ball looking for Jota, a little backward header, finds Schlupp at the left angle of the box, was clever. There's Jeffrey Schlupp here. Jota in support. It's with the Celtic number 7 now. Back to Scales, leaves it for Jota. Midway inside Killie territory at the moment, to the right of centre for Carter Vickers, and now with McGregor to Scales. And to Callum McGregor again, forward to McCowan. Then Engels. A little ball to Hatate. Does likewise to McGregor in the box. The back heel finds Hatate. Fires it across the face. A goal, no takers.
No, I think he was actually going for goal there. You know, he struck it with real pace. Just his accuracy was out, and he was obviously trying to hit that side netting, but just he didn't make the right connection. But again, he could have easily slid across the 6-yard box for maybe people arriving in there. But it was good play, a lovely little bit of a back heel from drag back from Callum McGregor to set him up.
Well, we await to see who the next fixtures will be for these two. We can see when derby matches will be played, the big relegation matches will be played. Who will have to come here for a third visit this season? Will it be Rangers, Packy, do you think?
No, Rangers will be...
Oh, that, no, of course, that's different.
That's different.
As is the Edinburgh derby as well, I seem to remember. And there will be clubs annoyed that they've got to come here, because that's the one you don't want. 3 visits to Celtic Park in a season.
Of course,
you don't want that.
But that Celtic Rangers game will be the interesting one out of all, I suppose, from Celtic's perspective, because if they won, they had the League One almost, and they've got to perform against Rangers. You know, they haven't done that in the last couple of games, and that's in fact the last 3 games I don't think they did that at Hampden either. They got away with it.
No, they've actually struggled against Rangers the last 3 games.
Yeah, so that's something they've got to put right.
Although in fairness, the title's done and Rangers aren't in the Scottish Cup, so they don't really have to stress too much about it, I wouldn't have thought.
No, but
Calvin
still,
Ramsey
you want
waits
to perform.
Yeah, Calvin Ramsey's going to come on. I think it's fair to say it's a loan move from Liverpool that hasn't really worked out.
Yeah,
the Scotland chap.
I was going to ask you about him, because he had great pedigree when he was young up at Aberdeen, eh?
Yeah, well, I mean, Aberdeen made a substantial amount of money off him after 1 season in the first team, and moved to Liverpool. He's a couple of loans, Preston and Wigan.
So difficult to get in at Liverpool, you know, and if you're not getting even, you know, and the sort of view of the manager, and managers change also then.
Well, I mean, look how excited everyone in Scotland is about Ben Doak.
Yeah.
He's out on loan at Middlesbrough. He's out injured at the moment, but looks like he might be leaving Liverpool in the summer, and we think this guy's going to be a superstar for Scotland. As Liam Donnelly prepares to take a long throw in down below us. 90 seconds of 90 minutes left here. Celtic leading 4-1. Kilmarnock looking for another one back. Donnelly bowls it into the box, comes off Schlupp and falls into the gloves of Sinisalo. He bowled it quickly to Hatate, perhaps too quickly, given away. Here's Lyons. And then Donnelly goes for goal, he gets his shot wrong and he goes wide, so Salo apologises, and it stays Celtic 4, Kilmarnock 1.
Yeah, I know what he was trying, but he didn't see the players around about him, and it was a poor decision. He had other options actually to play it long, and he went for that sort of short throw out and nearly got caught out.
McGregor along the halfway line for Scales, just stepping away from Watkins, midway inside the Kilmarnock half now. Stabs it to McCowan, now it's with Hatate. One back by Donnelly, he goes down. The referee's giving them an advantage here, albeit Joe Wright says there's nobody ahead of me, so perhaps he would have taken the free kick. Long ball looking for Ramsey, out comes Salo and knocks it out for a throw into Kelly on the near side. Ramsey was looking to take a quick throw in, the Celtic ploy, leaving the balls in the cones on the touchline here to get the game underway quickly. Ramsey tried to do that, but he didn't have a teammate anywhere near him.
There was nobody within 40 yards of him. But they'll go for that long throw in again, just to get a consolation, try to get a consolation and get something again positive that the manager can take into the next game.
I said it in the first half, when I was sitting at 4-1, that Derek McInnes would have probably signed up to 4-1. 3 minutes added as we go into the first of them. Throw-in came in, headed away, back into the box, headed away again, and Daba tries to hit the volley at the edge of the area. He slices it and it's cleared by Sloop up to the halfway line and into the Celtic half, or the Killie half rather, and it is over the head of Mayo to Ndaba, who goes back to his goalkeeper. So it's been a satisfactory day at the office for Brendan Rodgers. A good reaction in that first half to the disappointment of losing at St Johnstone last weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
But the second half, is it just again a case of game's done by the break?
The game's done. He would have probably hoping that they were going to pick up where they left off at half time, but I think it was going to be much more difficult for them because Kilmarnock has to react, and they probably reacted in the right way.
Chance here, Celtic on the right hand side with Engels. Low ball to the overlapping Kuhn. And now Ralston level with the 6-yard line. Being forced away from the box by Findlay. It's a good spin there by Ralston. He's managed to get the cross in as well, headed away by Donnelly. McGregor turning away from Watkins, fouled by Watkins. Free kick Celtic, 4-1 Celtic. We've played one of the 3 minutes that were added.
Yeah, satisfactory day for them. Kilmarnock, better second half, I've got to say. They'll pick up on that, no doubt. Derek McInnes will pick up on that. He'd be disappointed with the way they lost the goals. Obviously there were some great strikes in there, but just the space that was created allowed. Now, is that down to the tactics? Is that down to the players themselves? I think they've just been much more tactically aware in the second half, and that stops Celtic from cutting them up and forcing them wide, forcing them around. To play around just takes a little bit longer, so you can then get your distances right and get the timings right. But if you open up right through the middle, you'll get cut up by Celtic, who are really good in that first half.
Scales to McCowan as they try and find one last chance. The final minute of stoppage time. Then you can zone in on next Sunday's Scottish Cup semi against St Johnstone to retain the Scottish Cup. McCowan to shot on the near side, and fouling McCowan, a free kick to Celtic, and they will get one last opportunity to load the Kilmarnock box here before the final whistle.
Well, they've got nobody really, unless they put the centre halves up now. They're taking it shortly. That's for sure, because they don't have a striker up there that they can actually play a ball into.
That's true. In fact, they were all asking who's going up front when they took Maida out of the equation. Ida was already off, and of course this underlines they can't afford for those two to get injured. As Ralston picks up on the right hand side, he shoots and he scores as well, and as he did at the opening weekend of the season against Kilmarnock, Anthony Ralston fires it home in the last minute of the game, and it's an outstanding finish as well, as he finds the bottom left reverse corner past O'Hara. They've had to wait a while for the 5th goal, but it duly arrives right at the end, and Celtic turn on a 5-star show on what might yet be title clinching weekend. Celtic 5, Kilmarnock 1.
All the composure of a striker inside the box, gets himself into a great position, ball's flicked up and over and round into him, and then he controls leaves the defender for dead and then strikes across the goalkeeper into that bottom right-hand corner. Really good finish from him.
Well, that is it. Final touch of the ball was Ralston's, and it's the old icing of the cake in the end, isn't it? Celtic to wait right to the end to get that 5th goal, having gone 4-0 up after 25. An outstanding strike from Hatate from distance on 9 minutes, and less than 2 later Maida had made it 2-0. Carter Vicker scored a worldie on 21 minutes to make it 3 before Hatate turned home after good work by Johnston on the right. Danny Armstrong's cross found the top corner to reduce the gap back to 3 goals at 4-1. Maida had the ball in the net on the rebound just before the break. It was ruled out for an offside against Ida, and a procession of a second half was completed by Anthony Ralston, stroking the ball home late on against Killie, as he did on the opening weekend of the Premiership campaign. It finishes here with Celtic now 2 points away from the title, and that could be sorted tomorrow if Aberdeen beat Rangers in that game at Pittodrie, which will be live here on Sportsound. But it finished here. Celtic 5, Kilmarnock 1.
This